Okie dokie. So I wanted to do a quick stream here for a couple reasons. One, I was just having fun drawing with some simple forms that I was creating. When I talk about simple forms, I'm talking about, you know, any old simple primitive 3D form that you could draw, such as a cube, you know, and that could be long like this. You'd stretch it out. All right. Or it could be some kind of spherical kind of shape like this, right? Thinking about that being three-dimensional, right? That's another one. You could stretch those out, right? Here's a shape, and I can just add dimension to it by drawing contour lines around it, right? Make a cylinder, so on. You get the idea, right? There's a little center line passing through it. It's nice to think about something passing through the center. It helps you sort of visualize the planes, if it's a cube. If it's a more organic shape, still helps you to think about that through line and how that runs through the object, just to see the gesture of it, if that makes sense. And I thought it'd be fun to just stick some of these together and see what you get. It's just a way of, it's a drawing exercise. It helps you visualize things in 3 dimensions. It helps you to imagine that what you're drawing is not simply a 2D flat kind of a thing, but more of a, well, you can move around it, you can move through it. That's kind of the idea, right? The other reason I wanted to do this little stream was just to check how my audio was, because I was having this issue with the background noise of the fans of my MacBook, creating this little background hissing sound with the microphone, and my good pal Jason Levine was helping me out and showing me how to try and reduce some of that noise. So I'm hoping that when I play this back, I won't be able to hear that noise. That's my plan. Anywho, yeah, so why don't we just do this? So here's what I'm going to do. If anyone's curious, by the way, about which brushes I'm using, this brush is one of the new Vine charcoal brushes, which can be downloaded from your CC Creative Cloud brushes download page. If you're in Photoshop, the way you get to that is you go over here to brushes, and there's a little drop down menu, and you just hit get more brushes. It'll prompt you to sign in, and you grab those. And this one is the Vine Charcoal 2 right there. There's 7 of those charcoal brushes. Yeah. Anyhow, I've sized it down so it's more kind of like a pencil. If I zoom in, you'll see it's got some nice texture and stuff built in. Lovely. Good for these kinds of sketching exercises. There's that little through line, right? So there's a shape. Now, I can look at that and say, all right, I'd like to stick a pyramid on there somewhere, right? So what you can do is you can just sort of think about that shape kind of passing through, like they're all transparent. All right, so there's that pyramid, and or if I want to angle it the same as in the same way, I could do that. I could use the same perspective here. I'm thinking about my vanishing point being off this way. We're drawing really in 3-point perspective here, but I mean, just to keep it simple, it's like 2-point. Got a little natural eraser here, which is nice to use. But here's what you do then. You can erase away a little bit of that cylinder, and then I look at the curvature here, and I imagine I'm going all the way through, and I just mimic that here. See that? And I let that form pass through the other. And then I just kind of stick it on top, and now it becomes part of, becomes part of that original shape there. I just dropped my stylus for a moment there. Thank goodness it didn't drop to the floor. You know, I've never had a Wacom stylus not work. I mean, I've dropped those things 100 times, but there's always a first time, and I don't want this to be that time. So there, anyway, that's the exercise, is you just have one shape follow coming from another shape that you've drawn, and you can have it just kind of stuck on there. So like if I wanted to do this, I could just decide this is how this one's going to work. It's going to come off of here and then get wider as it comes towards us. And you could even do something like this. You just change your mind as you go. Say, okay, actually I want this to be concave there. Okay. So I look at my perspective and I say, all right, so that needs to come back that way. So there's that. And then think about this line. All these lines have to come back to another vanishing point back in that direction. Okay, if that makes sense. If you're not familiar with how the rules of 1 point, 2 point perspective work, gosh, there's so many good videos about that on the old YouTubes, so you can check that out. But for those who know what's up with that, I think you'd enjoy just doing this and seeing what happens. So you can make these shapes. So why would you do this? Well, a couple of reasons. One, it's good practice. Okay, so this is just good practice. That's the first reason. The second reason is if you're designing objects such as furniture or even something cool like spaceships or, you know, buildings, you know, things of that nature, you could use this exercise to then construct anything, really anything you could watch with this. You could make with this, pardon me. So as an example, let's just say that, I'll just slide this over here for a moment. Let's say I want to make a piece of, you know, armor or something for some character. I say, all right, I want to have the shoulder pads. Okay, so I'm starting out same as before. I want to start with, I'll do this actually and make this kind of half circle shape here. So that's going to be the beginning of those shoulder pads. And I want to connect it to like this cool breastplate kind of thing, right? So I'm thinking about that shape. Here's that center line for that. And it's coming up and over, right? And then I connect those. I say, okay, we're going to do this. Erase away what I don't need. I can still see through it though, right? Okay, and then I decide, no, I want these to pop further out this way. Okay, so then I'll just go ahead and tack on this shape here, right? So that's doing that. And I'm liking the way that looks. And then I want to make sure that we know that this is going to wrap around the shoulders. So I just indicate that that shape is, that section there doesn't wrap all the way around. It's cut out right here. And then I need a place for the head to pop through, or maybe I'm going to have it drape over. So I could do this kind of a cutout. So it's a positive and negative thing. You're adding and you're subtracting, right? So maybe what happens is this comes down like this, and then that's how it looks. From the front, and we know that all this is cut away. Okay, and that needs to be a little wider, so of course I would push it back a little ways like that. Okay, but do you see how this works? How I'm just using these simple shapes, simple primitive 3D shapes to build. Okay, so then I say, all right, now here I want to move in a little bit. All right, so I want this area to project forward, and then I want to cut in from here. So what I'll do is go ahead and design that little shape there, and then I want to cut away. So I'm just gonna cut in here like that. I can erase away what I don't need again, and then just complete that like so. Okay, that would probably be a bit more like that. There we go. So there's that front bit, that front plate. I'm erasing only so that I can still see that center line. It helps me to keep everything symmetrical on either side, right? And there's that bit of armor. Now, of course, here's where you can get more fancy. You could knock all this back, and then on top of it, you can draw some more organic lines, some curvilinear stuff, right? So the construction of it is pretty basic. But here's where I can then say, all right, now here I want to come up and over, and then pop up like that. And then that's going to happen like so. So a slightly different shape right there. Oh, and I want to add these cool little bumps right there, right? Now, what is that? That is basically that shape, okay, that little sphere. And I'm just attaching it to the top, puncturing it, going right through. And we just see the top of it protruding there. So that's going to come through there. And then here we wrap straight down. And we see that come over like this. Maybe give that a little bit more of a tilt to it. And here I can come up and then down like that with that nice looping sort of a shape right there. Like a reverse J. There. So you see how that works? Now what I'm doing is I'm just making these more more carefully considered design decisions, you see? I'll just separate that like that, and then right underneath here I can make a little bump like that and then come down like so, and there you go. And that could be that front bit. We could have a little break right there, have it like have a little bump so it connects around the back. You just pop this whole thing over the torso. Like that. There we go. And yeah, so I hope that makes sense. So that's just one way to use this system. But you know, the other cool thing about it is it helps with when you're trying to draw complicated things, you know, machinery, vehicles, things that have a lot of parts. If you can see the simpler shapes and try and draw those larger shapes first, it'll really help you to get your drawing started. You know, an airplane is really just a cylinder, right? It's a cylinder. And that's the body of the plane, okay? And then the wings are really just, you're gonna have just a thin rectangle popping through, okay, from one side to the other. That's really all that is. All right, so you got the cylinder, you got the rectangle. The tail again is just another simple shape with another rectangle sliding through on that side. Right, and all the while I'm thinking about keeping this in perspective, right? Make sure everything's lining up. But that is, of course, you know, it's a little more complicated than that, but that's really all you need to do. Get the engines there, whatever they are. That's over there. Make that wing a little longer, I think. And if I were just, you know, knock that back. Now I could think about really drawing that shape with a bit more finesse for the plane, right? The body of the plane traveling back, and then towards the back there it just kind of slopes upward to meet that tail. Right? Attach those wings with that little curved line right there so you can see how that form is connected. Okay. There we go. And we know that the wing is wider where it attaches to the body than the tips. But I hope this little demo here shows you how you can use this to draw something that would otherwise be maybe a little tricky to sort of figure out, sort out. And this goes for anything, you know, much more complicated than a plane. You know, if you're trying to draw a tractor or something, look for the really simple shapes and reduce it down to those, and you'll have more luck sorting all that out, right? Where is the landing gear for a plane? Is it about here? Is it inside the wings? I think that's where it is. Or is it further out here? I can't remember. I know there's one back there too. Okay, well that's it. So anyway, you could do all this, or you know, you could just stick with the basic exercise that we started with, which is this one right here. Just to practice drawing all kinds of random shapes and putting them in space, like making them feel like they have some dimension. So if I say, okay, here is the center line of this, so then I think about what that actually looks like. I draw these contour lines, these cross contour lines around it to figure out what it actually looks like. And then I can decide to attach just any old thing to it. I can change the way a shape is on one side from the other. So maybe over here it attaches and it's an ellipse, right? Like if I were to draw through that, but it changes its shape as it comes down, and that this end winds up getting flattened out, right? That's a possibility there. Here's that center line. Whoops, let's do it like this. A little higher there. And then I can erase away what I don't need. And now I've just modified it, right? Something else could come off maybe this way, I don't know. That comes all the way through maybe. Try this exercise and see how you go. I think it's really fun. I think you will think it's fun once you get the hang of it. There you go. I could just keep doing this, frankly, for hours. They fit together. I like what happened there. Didn't plan for it, but it turned into something cool. There we go. So maybe this is attached here. There, you get the idea, right? All right, well, there you go, folks. Thanks for watching. Catch me on Friday for my masterclass, and we're going to be talking about composition once more. Wrapping that up, and I'll do a little demonstration of how I use it myself. And that'll be on Adobe Live, so check it out.